Good evening, Chicago. Welcome back to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Got a full show in stock for you tonight. The Illini survived the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament and have advanced to the Sweet 16 for the first time in nearly 20 years. Will Coach Underwood be able to get his guys into the third weekend? Or will this be it for Illinois? And then, technically, MLB has already started the season. We've already technically had opening day. But the Cubs and White Sox will officially begin their 2024 seasons in just a couple of days later this week. Will the Cubs be able to finish what they started last season and win the division and make a postseason push? Or will they find themselves yet again on the outside looking in once October rolls around? Meanwhile, for the White Sox, will they do anything of consequence this season besides lose just a ton of ball games? We'll preview both upcoming summers on both sides of town on tonight's episode. And then finally, lost in the Justin Fields trade last week was a move that I think is going to be the most interesting one of the offseason. All that plus more. Here we go. And once again, hello and good evening, everybody. I am your host, Adam Karnick. So glad that you are here with me as we go through another episode of everything going on in the wonderful sports world of the best city in the United States. That would be Chicago. Lots going on here tonight. We're going to be previewing opening day for the MLB season. We, of course, are going to have some Bears talk. But where we need to start the show tonight is going to be with March Madness, getting caught up on everything that happened over the weekend in the tournament. Before we go any further, however, we do want to acknowledge our sponsors here at the station. You know them, of course. You've heard me talk about them just about every week for the past month and a half now for one of them, and for the past year plus now, I think, for the other. The first, of course, would be Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Find them on Instagram at Planet Jerky, or just go to their website, planetjerky.net. Also brought to you, this show is, of course, brought to you also by Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations, and you're looking for that extra special touch. Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then Seal the Deal Wax Seals with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts is for you. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. Find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps, or go to Facebook and search Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And Chi-Town Weekly is, of course, on the platform of IE Sports Radio. Zeroing in on 10 years now, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and stop by the shop to check out the merchandise. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And you heard how to interact with the station there in there. You can also interact with this show. We are available for you on social media, on Twitter at IESRC, or you can also follow along with me personally. I am at Adam_Karnick. And if you are listening live here on Monday night here on Spreaker.com, hop on into the chat room. Taryn Rodriguez is there. Jen B is there. Good evening to both of you. Hope you're doing well on this Monday evening. We can interact, have some fun, some back and forth that way. Or if you are listening after the fact on Spreaker or Google or iHeartRadio, Spotify, any of the other places where you can find our content, or you just want to sit back and listen, thank you for being here. Thank you for making this part of your sports week. I am here for you in whatever way you are most comfortable. So I want to start things off tonight on the show. March Madness, the NCAA men's bracket officially kicked off last weekend. We had Northwestern and Illinois both participating out of the Big Ten. Nobody else super relevant from Illinois in the conversation there. Both schools survived their first round matchups. Northwestern getting the win on Friday night. Technically that was an upset. It took overtime, but the Wildcats were able to beat the number 8 seed Florida Atlantic University 77-65 in overtime. 19 points in the overtime for Northwestern to get the win there in that one. A scoring drought for Florida Atlantic came at absolutely just the worst time for FAU in that one. So Northwestern was able to advance. On Thursday night, Illinois had gotten off to a little bit of a slow start against 14th ranked Morehead State, but Illinois was only up by a point at the half, but then cruised through the second half, putting up 46 points in the second half, en route to an 85-69 win in the first round over Morehead State. So both schools advance into the second round. Then Illinois took advantage of a surprising upset in the first round with Duquesne. We had talked about them a little bit the last couple weeks out of the Atlantic 10. The Atlantic 10 champion Duquesne Dukies had survived into the second round, pulled off an upset there, the 6-11 upset. Duquesne proved to be no match for Illinois, though. That game was a rout, 89-63, and frankly, that score really doesn't tell you just how big of an upset that was. At one point, Illinois had a 30-point lead at one point in this game. Terrence Shannon Jr. had himself a wonderful game, 30 points, 10 of 14 from the field. All 8 of his free throw attempts were good. You also had Marcus Domask, who had gotten a triple-double in the first round matchup. He followed that up with 22 points in the second round matchup. So Illinois easily able to cruise past Duquesne and advance to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2005. For the first time since making it to the national championship game and ultimately losing to North Carolina. It's been a long time. I was a high school senior the last time Illinois made it this far in the tournament. So a not insignificant monkey off the back of Coach Underwood's program there. And they celebrated in fun style after advancing over Duquesne. Coach Underwood, I don't know if you saw the video, he came dashing into the locker room with a super soaker and started blasting at his team there. It's one of the fun things about this tournament is seeing the schools celebrate as they advance into the next tier, into the next weekend. So good for Coach Underwood, good for Illinois advancing in there. We'll preview their Sweet 16 matchup here in a little bit. It was not quite the ending you would have liked, though, for Northwestern. Illinois was on the joyful end of a blowout. Northwestern, unfortunately, was on the receiving end of a blowout. One of the troubles of getting one of those mid-tier 8 or 9 seeds means that even if you get past your first round, you're almost guaranteed to take on one of the top 4 teams in the tournament, and that's what happened to Northwestern. Got to take on number 1 reigning defending champion UConn in the second round, and it was not a good matchup at all for Northwestern in that one. The Wildcats fell behind 40-18 at the half, and just that was all she wrote. Never really challenging in this one at all. As decisive of a victory as Illinois had, that's how complete of a loss Northwestern suffered in this one. Boo Buie, he had himself an excellent season, but unfortunately it ends in the second round. So for the Wildcats, though, it was historic. I would still categorize it as a successful season for Coach Collins and the Cats. They made it to the tournament. This was 2 years in a row that the Wildcats made it into the tournament, and that's the first time in program history that Northwestern got into the national tournament 2 years in a row. So to advance into the second round, to make it 2 years in a row, and then to win your first matchup. Yeah, all right, you got knocked out in the second round, but you took on honestly one of the top teams in the country. Taryn wondering if Boo Buie has any chance to land with the Bulls. Possibly. The Bulls are so strapped for draft capital, and I really haven't done much of a dive into the draft prospects yet for next season, for this summer for the NBA. I haven't started looking at a lot of that yet. Buie certainly didn't hurt himself. He had a terrific career at Northwestern. 5 years, 5 years all with Northwestern. He finishes with he played in no fewer than 24 games every year of his career there, including 34 in each of the last 2 seasons. So he was consistently out there for Northwestern, and a true leader on and off the court for them. I'm not sure how well his game would translate to the NBA. I haven't started diving in any of those sorts of things yet, but even if he winds up, playing overseas for a little while first, there can certainly be professional basketball in Boo Buie's future for sure. To look at it that way, and Taryn was hoping for the Northwestern upset there against UConn, and for no other reason than San Diego State would then get Northwestern instead of UConn. Yeah, I'm going to be pulling for San Diego State this weekend too, because that would then mean Illinois would be avoiding UConn there as well. So maybe San Diego State could be the one to upset the Giant there. And Jen is still holding strong to Illinois winning it all. At this point, that's the only way her bracket can do anything at this point, is if Illinois wins it all. Well, Illinois' got a tough lineup for this week. The East region, as we get ready for the Sweet 16, the East region effectively went chalk. You had the 1, 2, 3, and 5 seeds advance. So not quite chalk, but pretty darn close to it. When the 5 seed is the lowest remaining in the Sweet 16 in that particular region, that basically you went chalk at that point. Illinois is going to have a tough one. The Illinois scored incredibly well each of the first 2 games, scoring over 80 points in each of them. Now you're going up against a Cyclone team that does not give up a lot of points. Looking at their last 5 contests from which does include the tournament, the most points they have given up to this point within their last 5 contests, 65, and that was against South Dakota State in the first round of the tournament, and they won that game very comfortably, very easily, 82-65. So Illinois is going to have to either figure out a way to overcome that Cyclone defense, or they're going to have to figure out a way to play some defense themselves. They didn't give up a ton of points through the first 2 rounds of the tournament. 69 points against Morehead State, 63 points against Duquesne, but that's obviously significantly inferior competition. Iowa State, yes, they've only had to play South Dakota State and Washington State thus far in the tournament, but they held Houston to just 41 points. They clipped Baylor 76-62. They beat Kansas State 76-57. They have had very good results against very tough competition. Illinois is going to have its hands full against Iowa State. And then, assuming you survive that one, then very likely you've got UConn coming right behind you at that point. And UConn is obviously no slouch either, the reigning defending champs. So it's going to be a very, very, very tough regional semifinal and hopefully final for Coach Underwood and his guys. We'll see what happens, but hopefully this time next week we'll be talking about making preparations for a Final Four trip and hopefully not lamenting the end of the season. But it's gonna be tough for Illinois. I'll put it that way. I think the Elite Eight is where is where it ultimately ends. I defer back to the conversation that Matt Garner and I had over the last couple weeks, where it was we could see Illinois getting past Iowa, but that's probably going to take so much out of them that then going up against UConn will probably prove to be too much. So, but we'll see how it happens. We'll see how it all breaks down. We are going to take ourselves a quick break, and then when we come back, it is spring. Even though we had some snow over the weekend, even though Old Man Winter apparently isn't going away just quite yet, it is spring, and that means baseball is in the air. We are going to preview both the North and South sides as they get ready to start the 2024 campaign on Thursday. So do not go anywhere. This is Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Calise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate, die-hard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports. And I will update you on all that's black and gold, have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Calise, the User Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pulp culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Adam Karnick here with you for about another half hour or so before we turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez and Set Point to get us caught up on everything happening in the volleyball world. But right now, we're going to talk some baseball. I know, technically, the MLB regular season has already started. The Padres and the Dodgers played a series over in South Korea. For the Cubs and for the White Sox, though, and for the overwhelming majority of Major League Baseball, opening day is Thursday. The Cubs and the Sox, they both are finishing things up in Mesa. The Cubs had a game earlier today against the Cardinals. They have one more game against the Cardinals tomorrow afternoon, and then they will officially break spring training and head to Arlington to take on the defending champion Texas Rangers, whereas the White Sox will be breaking out and coming home to start a series against the Detroit Tigers. I want to start things off with the Cubs. Not only did the Cubs have the better season a year ago, they're the better team. Frankly, the White Sox, I think we can sum up in one sentence of they're going to be awful. But we'll get to them in a minute. So I want to start off. Let's talk some Cubs, shall we, as we get ready for the 2024 MLB domestic opening day on Thursday, as Mike Pat joins us in the chat room. Good evening, Mike. Hope you're doing well. So the Cubs, on the one hand, coming off of an 83-79 season a year ago where they came so close to the playoffs. They entered the month of September, and it looked like they were going to be a surefire thing to surprise everybody and make the playoffs, and they ran out of gas. Had the regular season ended September 1st, they would have been in. Unfortunately, the regular season went to the end of September, and the Cubs just did not have enough in the tank. The biggest move for the Cubs this offseason, of course, has to be that hand-picked, hand-selected, hand-groomed club manager David Ross was let go specifically so that the Cubs could bring in former Milwaukee Brewers manager Craig Counsel. Counsel comes down from the NL Central Rivals, where he has been regarded as one of the best managerial candidates in the game for the last several years. He now comes to the North Side and is going to try to be the difference on a team that is trying to get back to where they were. Amazingly enough, it's already been 7-8 years since the Cubs were at the pinnacle, at the top of baseball. It was 8 years ago when they broke the curse, and it was 7 years ago when they last won a playoff series. So trying to get a little bit of an uphill climb. The roster itself really isn't going to be that different from what we saw a year ago. The biggest additions you have coming over from the Los Angeles Dodgers organization, young first base prospect Michael Busch is expected to open up the season at first base for the Cubs. He's had a bit of a slow spring. He has hit a couple of home runs, though, only hitting 167 overall, but all accounts he is going to break camp and be with the big league club on the 26-man roster, and I would expect him to be the opening night first baseman. The other addition, the other new person on the team is pitcher Shota Imanaga. Comes over from the Japanese Professional League, and Imanaga will be either the fourth or the fifth starter. We'll see where exactly in the rotation he slots. They've announced officially their order for the opening series against Texas, but they technically haven't announced their rotation schedule beyond that. Imanaga coming over from Japan, where obviously in Japan you only pitch once a week. Here in the majors, you pitch once realistically every fifth day. So the Cubs probably going to putting him towards the back of the rotation to try to help stretch him out a little bit and make the transition a little easier for him as he gets ready for Major League ball. The other big, it's technically an addition, but it's really a re-signing. Cody Bellinger returns after having a terrific season a year ago, rejuvenated his career. It took all of the offseason, but finally Bellinger did what everyone expected him to do and re-sign with the Cubs. It's technically a 3-year deal, but Bellinger has player options after each of the first 2 seasons, so it's really 3 individually signed 1-year deals where Bellinger could put himself back out on the market at any point. and Mike Pat, I feel that one, Mike. Mike asks, did either of your favorite teams manage to piss off their entire fan base by sending the number 1 prospect in baseball down to AAA despite having a very good spring? I feel you there, Mike. That didn't happen this year for the Cubs, but that absolutely happened with Chris Bryant 8 years ago, who he became my favorite Cub. And basically as soon as the Cubs, and everybody knew what was going on when it happened too in 2016, it was, oh yeah, they're keeping him down for the first 10 days so that they get that extra year of control. Everyone knows what's going on here, but that didn't change Chris Bryant from basically being soured with the front office then for the rest of his Cubs tenure. And then when he did finally get to free agency, he was basically, yeah, no, I'm not coming back. See ya. I'll go play in Colorado, thanks. So I feel you on that one, Mike. The ways to which the teams will manipulate the system to remain in control. And on the one, it's on the one hand, they're well within their rights. You know what they're doing. They technically can't hold anybody down just to get that extra year of control. But at the same, it's totally the honor system. All you have to do is make up an excuse. Oh, he stubbed his toe rounding second base yesterday. We're going to keep him down in the minors just to make sure that everything's fine. Oh, we didn't see him hit enough triples. Oh, we didn't see him walk enough times. We didn't see him we didn't see enough hard ball contact. Oh, make up your excuse. That's all it takes. And then magically on that 11th day, we saw plenty of that at down in the minors. We saw plenty. Now he's up. Life will be good. Yeah, everybody knows what's going on there. So no, that did not happen this go around. But I've been there with you. I feel your pain. I know what you're talking about. My big question for the Cubs as we get going here: did they do enough? We came into the end of last season. The big question was still, where are the Cubs going to find more offense? They need more offense. They need more power, especially when you're playing at Wrigley Field. Obviously, the field, especially in the summer, it's going to help you generate runs, but you need to be able to score. You can't rely on your defense and your pitching to hold teams down. Yes, Justin Steele had an amazing season last year. We're finishing with an ERA just a hair over 3. But where were you going to find offense? And the Cubs, that's why Cody Bellinger, to me, while yes, it's technically a signing, I don't necessarily count that as an addition, because you had him a season ago and he did so very well. Mike, he'll give me $100 bottle of wine if I can name the player they kept over him. Oh, man. Well, I'll be on the honor system here. I am not going to Google it. That would not be fair. But I will also freely admit that I do not know the Baltimore Orioles roster that well enough to get that $100 bottle of wine. I would basically be making up a name at that point, but it's got to be somebody ridiculous like Adam Jones or something like that, right? Somebody where it's just absolutely you know what you have at that point. You know that it's all over. It's time to move on. But for the Cubs, the big questions were offensively, how are you going to fix the corners? Because you knew there were so many spots where you had players locked in. And as we look at the infielders, as we look around the rest of the final roster, obviously Dansby Swanson, he's not going anywhere at shortstop. Nico Horner, he's not going anywhere at second base. Seiya Suzuki, he is firmly entrenched in right field. Ian Happ, firmly entrenched in left field. With Cody Bellinger, if you didn't bring him back, well, then you knew that Pete Crow Armstrong was going to be the starting center fielder. But at the same time, PCA doesn't give you anything in the way of offense. He's still looking for his first major league hit after spending a couple of weeks up in the bigs at the end of last season. So where were you going to find the offense? Was it going to be Christopher Morel? Well, you had him a year ago, but he's kind of a Swiss Army knife in that he's a jack of all trades, but not really great at any one position in the field. So really he's going to be more of a DH. Now, Patrick Wisdom is opening the season on the injured list, so I do expect Christopher Morel to start at third base, and I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps that spot even when Wisdom comes back. I think Wisdom is going to turn into your utility corner infield guy. He'll be the backup first baseman or third baseman whenever Morel or Bush winds up needing a day off. I think you'll see Wisdom slide into those spots. But I do wonder if they've done enough offensively to win the National League Central. They are, at this point, depending on who you look at, Baseball Prospectus or Fangraphs or Sabre, right now everybody's kind of projecting them to be very similar to they were a year ago, right around 83, 84 wins, which for the Central, that might be enough. The Reds are really trying to be serious this year. The Cardinals are seemingly making some moves, but that's going to be your competition in the Central. The Brewers are definitely on the downward trend, and the Pirates, they are still the Pirates. They're trying, but I don't think they're going to be making it out of the cellar of the division this season. So it'll be interesting to see how things go on the north side. Meanwhile, on the south side of town, the big move, of course, happened just fairly recently that they decided to move on from Dylan Cease, that they made the trade, and it was a good trade. I mean, it was very much a solid trade, but this team is going to be rough this year for the White Sox. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them, only suffice to say I would not be stunned if the Sox fail to win 60 games this season. They went 61 and 101 a year ago. That's where I've seen some people project the White Sox to finish. I'll be honest, I'm not sure that they even get 60 wins. I think that this is a team just absolutely, they have thrown in the towel and the season hasn't even started. Listen to this pitching rotation, if you can call it that. And I think this rotation, no offense to any of these pitchers, but I think this rotation is an insult to professional baseball. Your presumptive ace and first pitcher out of the gate will be Garrett Crochet. Garrett Crochet is making his first career start on Thursday against the Tigers. Yes, he was a high draft pick of the franchise, but this has been a guy who has lived in the bullpen for his entire major league career. Mike, if you're wondering who Garrett Crochet is, that $100 bottle of wine, I will see that $100 bottle of wine, sir, and double it if you can name any of the rest of the Sox rotation without Googling it. Here is the rest of their rotation. The second pitcher out of the gate, Michael Soroka. Soroka does have some starts in the majors. He has 9 starts over 4 seasons. He's a righty. That's who's going to be second. He posted a 6.4 ERA last season across 6 starts before getting shut down. The third starter is Eric Fetty. He was the prime free agent signing for the Sox this offseason. 2 years, $15 million. A 5.41 ERA over his MLB career. He's their number 3 starter. If you're going, wait a minute, I don't remember this name. That's because he was in the Korean baseball organization last year, pitching for the NC Dinos. He did win their award for best pitcher a season ago. However, that was in Korea. It's a little bit different in the bigs. The fourth starter is also a graduate of the Korean baseball organization. Chris Flexen will be the fourth starter. He's been in the majors at least since 2022, though. He pitched for the Mariners the last couple of seasons. He also pitched for the Rockies last year. Flexen had a ridiculous 7.71 ERA a season ago for Seattle before they dumped him. And then the fifth starter will be Nick Nastrini, who comes out of the Sox prospect farm system. They got him last year from the Los Angeles Dodgers. He will make his major league debut as the fifth starter, most likely. And that's about all the further I want to go with the White Sox, because they're just going to be awful. They are going to be a terrible team, and I truly feel terrible for all of White Sox fans having to put up with this year. If any of you decide to just check out, I don't blame you. We're gonna be doing some minor league talk next week. Larry was talking a couple weeks ago about doing a minor league baseball week across the station in honor of minor league baseball's opening day coming up here in about a week and a half. I'm definitely going to be talking about one of the Cubs farm teams. I may also squeeze in there some of the White Sox farm system just to give Sox fans a little bit feeling of hope, as something to pay attention to and to look forward to as we go to that. All right, we are going to take one more very fast break as I see how much time we don't have left in the show. And I do want to talk a little bit of Bears tonight. Lost in the gigantic shuffle that was the Justin Fields trade last week. There was another trade that Ryan Poles made that I think is going to go down as the most interesting trade that he made, not only this offseason, but possibly the most interesting move that Poles has made to this point as the Bears general manager. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Hey, sports fans. Are you in the market for Florida sports, or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
everybody. This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of thunderous spikes? Then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Kernick with you here for just about another 7 minutes or so before we wrap things up and turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez of Set Point. So last week, of course, the major Bears news that we talked about was the Justin Fields trade. We knew it had been coming, but it happened. We can close the door on that chapter in Bears history. But there was another move that was made just a couple of days before that one that, while obviously not as important or seismic for the direction of the franchise, it's a move that I honestly think was more interesting, where the Bears took advantage of the Los Angeles Chargers being absolutely up against the salary cap wall and got what could very well be a steal of a trade, sending one of their 2 fourth-round picks to the Chargers in exchange for now 32-year-old wide receiver Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen had a monster season a year ago. Good evening, John. Hello, Larry. Glad that you guys could jump in here right as we got just a couple minutes left, but we're talking NFL, which that always brings people in. Allen had himself a monster season a year ago. Over 100 catches. He didn't play in all the games, but still had absolutely terrific numbers playing with the Chargers. This is, to me, a sign. This is so different. It's so out of the norm for the moves that Ryan Poles has been making to this point. I mean, prior to this, basically every player that Poles had brought in either was A, younger than 30, or B, on a multi-year deal. And a lot of them checked both those boxes, or very quickly was made to fit both those boxes. Looking at you, Montez Sweat, comes in technically on an expiring deal, but before even having a practice with the team, signs a $100 million multi-year extension to be with the Bears for the long term. Kevin Byard comes in as the new free safety, technically before the start of free agency because he was on the street. And he's 31, but he signed a 2-year deal. Allen, on the other hand, is now he's 32, and he is on an expiring deal, and it is a massively expensive expiring deal. As Taryn sighs in the chat room, Allen didn't want to restructure his contract with the Chargers. Well, it's my understanding that they basically needed him to take some sort of a pay cut. And I understand where he was coming from. He had 108 catches and over 1,200 yards a season ago. And you look at his career numbers, that's a career high for catches for him. It was also the second most yards he's had in his career. Most yards he's had since 2017. Yards. I'm turning into a pirate here. Since 2017. The 7 touchdowns were the most he's had since 2020. So I understand why he didn't want to take any kind of a pay cut. He has said he's open to doing some kind of an extension with the Bears, but at least so far, nothing is... all's quiet on that front. So this is, to me, it is absolutely a win now move for the Bears. That it's the first time we have seen Poles make any kind of a move that wasn't trying to set up something for 2 or 3 years down the road. That he is absolutely looking at making 2024 a year for the Bears to go all in and be competitive. And with presumptive number 1 overall pick Caleb Williams going to be coming in, who he had his pro day last week. He did nothing to hurt his status. The Bears had everybody except the head of janitorial services out there at USC. Even Keenan Allen was out there at Caleb's pro day. Caleb is going to be the first overall pick. Just get used to that. But yeah, win now with a rookie quarterback, which is something that you seldom see teams try to do. But this is a very unique situation. Remember, the Bears only have this pick because the Carolina Panthers were so awful this past season. You know, if the Bears were picking at 7 or 8, Justin Fields would still, you know, I did this down the rabbit hole, and we don't have enough time to really dive into this rabbit hole, but if Lovie Smith didn't decide to stick it to the Houston Texans the final game of the 2022 regular season, Justin Fields is almost certainly still the Bears starting quarterback today, and Caleb Williams is going to be going elsewhere, not to the Bears. As we get ready for that, I do want to real quick, John Felipe asked, what do the Bears do at 9? They can do anything at 9. It's the world is their oyster at 9, at that 9th overall pick. And I don't, as much as this Keenan Allen move is for a win now, I could still see if Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors falls there at 9. I don't see any reason why a trade for Keenan Allen precludes you from taking one of those wide receivers. But it's certainly a fascinating trade and probably going to be the most interesting move the Bears make all offseason, as it shows that Ryan Poles believes that they are going to be competitive this season, which is going to make it so much fun when football season rolls around. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Big thank you and shout out again to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Find them on planetjerky.net. They offer free shipping on all orders of $50 and above. And also to Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. Find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps, or on Facebook, just search Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Thank you also to Larry B. for all the hard work you do behind the scenes, sir. Everything going on with IE Sports Radio, it does not go unnoticed, nor does it go unappreciated. Thank you to everybody who hung out with me in the chat room tonight. Mike Pat, John Felipe, Larry B., Jen B., and Taryn Rodriguez. Thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. Finally, thank you, the listener, for being here, whether it was live tonight on Monday or whether you caught replays of the show on Spreaker or on any of our other broadcasting partners, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, YouTube, any of them. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making this part of your routine. Send the link out to anybody that you know that enjoys sports. Let's help this thing grow. Hey, here's this guy that talks Chicago sports. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever it is, he'll talk it. Let people know. There's this crazy dude that talks sports. Log in and tell him what you think. Coming up next, it is Taryn Rodriguez and Set Point, giving you all the lowdown on everything happening in the world of volleyball. For IE Sports Radio, I am Adam Karnick. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Next week, we will be previewing the opening of minor league baseball, plus we'll see what else hops up along the show. Be good, be safe. We'll see you next time.